this next book might be one of the most recognizable titles to ever come out of the Frankfurt School, what we today call the Frankfurt School, which was a relatively small group of people who were writing in the mostly the 30s and the 40s, but a little bit later. Most died sometime around 1970 or so. They consisted of several people from all different kinds of backgrounds and intellectual interests, but some of the most prominent ones were people like Max Horkheimer, Theodor Adorno, Erich Fromm. You have people that came into the second generation of the Frankfurt School, like Jürgen Habermas. But this book is The Culture Industry, and it's by Theodor Adorno. And this is a collection of essays. The essay was one of Adorno's favorite forms, and one of Horkheimer's too, actually. It's 9 essays, actually, and it covers a number of different things, but there is one message behind, really a unifying message behind them all, and that is how culture has been commodified, essentially, how it has been turned into something to be bought and sold. How it's no longer, the primacy, the sense of primacy is no longer on the creative act of individuality, but it's on buying and selling, on mass production, and things to that effect. And one of the things the Frankfurt School did was to take philosophy and sociology and kind of fuse them together. And one of their biggest philosophical and sociological influences was the thought of Karl Marx. And Marx is really, I mean, they weren't vulgar Marxists, but anytime you read nowadays something that has Marxism in it, it can seem a little dated. It can seem as if you're reading something from another time, sort of like looking at it under a microscope. So insofar as that is the case, and I'll talk about that a bit later, these essays do seem a bit worn. However, when you talk about culture being commodified, I mean, just look around you. That thesis is, I think, as applicable today as it was 70 years ago when these essays were being written. So again, the culture industry refers to the processes of standardization, marketing, and distribution which become a part of the objects themselves, the cultural objects themselves that are being bought and sold. And Adorno argues that everything has been subsumed under the logic of the mass market in the culture industry, which creates what Adorno and Horkheimer call false needs, which are needs that capitalism invents so that capitalism can uniquely satisfy. And what I found really interesting about these essays is the resonance that it had with so many other critical thinkers like Baudrillard, Debord, Lyotard, and Herbert Marcuse, yet being written several years before the most important work of these thinkers. I mean, when you think about Baudrillard's Simulacra and Simulation, that didn't come out until 1981. Debord's Society and the Spectacle until, I think, 1967. Lyotard's The Postmodern Condition until 1979 or 1980. Some of these essays in the second half of the book, especially how to look at television and transparencies on film, especially, because again, I said that their interests are very, very varied. Adorno actually does have a piece in here, I think, about music, but musicology and music history was Adorno's special interest. But like I said, there are a couple of media pieces in here, and they reminded me of some of the best media criticism by people like Harold Innis, Marshall McLuhan, and Raymond Williams. As I said, the Marxism, though, can be a little bit laborious. The best of his thought isn't a result of the Marxism at all, but rather the sociological and the psychological observations and insights, and some of the media criticism, which I also really enjoyed. Whether it's the translation or the original writing, the style is difficult. Adorno was never an easy read at all. It can be sometimes turgid, sometimes obfuscating. Some of the more technical language, Marxist language that he uses, can be tough. But, and I would say it's digestible maybe one essay at a time. Don't sit and try to read this whole thing cover to cover. But he really does come up with some fascinating ideas, and to think that he did this, so long before anything that we recognize as postmodernism or anything like that, it's really quite impressive that they were so radical and so critical in the eye that they could bring to culture, that they were able to say these things in the first place. I'll probably end up coming back again and again to this book in an attempt to inform other readings by other Frankfurt School members, like I said, Erich Fromm, Lowenthal, and Jürgen Habermas, who were some other thinkers that I think are particularly interesting. But the culture industry, how culture has become commodified and turned into something we buy and sell, by Theodor Adorno.